We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Good afternoon and welcome to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I am your host, Robert Phoenix, and I will be with you for the next 116 minutes and 8 seconds. It is a pivotal time in our current situation here on this planet. We are within probably about 24 hours away from going to war with Syria. And the implications of this aren't just a third-party backed coup, which took place in Libya and other parts of North Africa and the Middle East during the color revolutions. It's not even a similar situation with Iraq when that took place in 2002. And it's certainly not a similar situation in terms of what's going on with Afghanistan and Pakistan. Syria is a big deal. And it's a big deal because the Russians have a vested interest in Syria. Syria is a major port in terms of the Middle East. If you look at it geopolitically, it really controls. Syria and Turkey control. I believe it's the back end of the Mediterranean. Let's just look it up here on the world map, just so we can make sure that we've got everything together here, because I want to make sure that I'm sharing with you the right information. Lord knows I don't want to share with you false information. So let's go to this page here. This should work. So, of course, I get it in French. Here we go. It's better. Let's see what we have here. Why are all these maps in French? If you look at Syria, it is right at the back end of the Mediterranean. Okay, so it is really kind of on the perch right there, just across from Italy, and it's also, I believe that's the Caspian Sea on the other side of it. It is a strategic point in terms of bringing in goods from the Atlantic and through the Mediterranean. And it is sort of the intersection where Europe meets the Middle East. So strategically, it's a very big deal. It's also a big deal because Syria is not and has not shown any inclination in being part of what is called the New World Order. Their leader, Bashir al-Assad, has remained quietly defiant in the face of what I would call the encroaching global imperialism that wants to set up a door-to-door network of global governance. And they have no debts. They don't belong to the World Bank. They are a sovereign state unto themselves, and we've seen what's happened to sovereign states over the past few years. They find democracy, and all of a sudden they're not sovereign anymore. They're run by who knows who is running Libya now. I have no idea who's running Libya. Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood, who knows? Well, they tried it in Egypt. It didn't work. And they've got a whole other kettle of fish in Egypt now that they're trying to redirect, create more chaos, more disturbance, perpetual war, perpetual mayhem. And hopefully, if you keep an area agitated long enough, a solution will arise. Some kind of manufactured or synthetic event will take place, and then all of a sudden the dominoes fall, and you've got another regime that is more suitable towards Western interests. So, there's a whole wild card being played out in Egypt, but Syria is a very big deal, really big deal. Now, if you look at the sort of the geocentric location of Syria, it is at the 33rd degree. It is at 33 degrees, right? Latitude. 33. It's on the 33rd parallel. That's the 33rd parallel. The 33rd degree is a very big deal. If you trace the 33rd degree across the United States, you'll find all kinds of very interesting shenanigans, everything from the Kennedy assassination just off of the 33rd degree, 32nd degree, right by the 33rd degree, obviously in Dallas, running through Los Angeles, 33rd degree, the Black Dahlia murders, O.J. Simpson, Rodney King, you name it, it's there. The Second Coming of Babylon, all in L.A., 33rd degree. So that's where Syria is, on this very symbolic, hyper-magical, occult hot point at 33 degrees. Now, what's interesting is I've looked at Syria's chart, and I haven't looked at its chart time-wise, but I've looked at the solar chart for Syria, not the natal chart, but the solar chart for Syria. And let's see what we got here. There's nobody in the chat room today. There's a few people. Hi there, chat people. Small chat room. I may not have a lot of people today. Anyway, so what we have here for Syria, there are two specific dates that are quite interesting. Syria claims its sort of first rung of independence, so I can find that again, on September 1st. And it was, I think the year was 1903. Let's just find this again. Well, we're coming up on September 1st, aren't we? So we are coming back to the very first day that Syria really became Syria in the modern world. Here we go, from Wikipedia. Here's the day. Syria became Syria as we know it, September 1st, 1918. That is when, well, let's put it this way. It was when Ottoman Syria is dissolved, and then the French occupation comes in. That's September 1st, 1918. Then we have March 8th, 1920. That is the proclamation of the Arab Kingdom of Syria. And that goes on until the 1st of December of 1924. And then Syria flips sides again, and it's the established under the French mandate, and that's the 1st of December. So we keep flipping back and forth here with Syria. It goes from the Turkish/Ottoman occupation, which had gone on for quite a while. And then it goes to the French occupation. Then it moves, just 2 years after that, becomes part of this Arab kingdom, Syria. And then the state of Syria, as it relates to the French mandate, the 1st of December, 1924. Now there's a Syria Republic, which is established by merger states of Jabal Druze, Alawites, and Syria. And then we have the independence from France on the 17th of April, 1946. So it goes from French occupation to Arab state, back to French mandate. Then they gather their power in 1930 over the course of the year by establishing a merger of all these different states. And then, excuse me, they removed the French in April of 1946. And then in 1961, between 1946 and 1961, they had joined what's called the United Arab Republic, which was a very short-lived kind of experience between 1960 and 1962. Egypt was a part of that. And so on the 28th of September 1961, they removed themselves, and then the Ba'ath Party took over on the 8th of March in 1963, which is interesting because the date, March 8th, comes up before, again, in 1920, when they proclaimed their association as the Arab Kingdom of Syria, or proclaimed their rule as the Arab Kingdom of Syria. So March 8th comes up twice. Now, September 1st is a big deal, again, because we're just a few days away. September 1st is Monday or Sunday of this week, the end of the week. So that would come into, it wouldn't be the 100-year anniversary of that. It would be the 98th anniversary of that day. However, we are not far away from it would be the 50th anniversary of Syria's Ba'ath Party independence on the 8th of March. I mean, we would be 6 months away from that on the 8th of September. So what I did is I went into the solar chart for the 8th of March. And it's really interesting what comes up here. Obviously, the 8th of March makes Syria a Pisces country. It also has Mercury in Aquarius at 28 degrees, Venus in Aquarius at 4 degrees, Mars in Leo. This is an important aspect because Syria is about to experience its Mars return. Mars is at 0 degrees Leo right now. And by the end of the week, by the middle of next week, it'll be close to its Mars return. Now, what we have in their chart is a retrograde Mars. And it's kind of interesting to look at the retrograde Mars as it relates to the relationship with, say, a crown state like France, and how France has returned to Syria over time. Now, if there is an attack, and I'm pretty sure there will be, unless somehow there's a massive divine intervention here, I could see France playing a large role in this as well. And I believe France is ruled by Leo, if I'm not mistaken. So look for France to take a leading role as it relates to any kind of either attack or even some form of political momentum to move this forward. But I would not necessarily attack a country with their Mars return, because it would make them quite formidable, actually. And when you look at the chart, they have a Venus-Mars opposition for this March 1963 day. And Venus in Aquarius is very cool, very chill, very live and let live. It can be a little clinical at times, maybe a little kind of, I don't know, Darwinian. However, with the Mars opposition in Leo, this is a country that when you flip the switch on them, I think they can get very fierce. And we've seen that over the course of the last year and a half, where they've tried as much as they can to go in and oust Assad through the proxy of these rebels or these revolutionaries or whoever the hell they are. They're not winning the war. Assad and the Syrians are winning, which is why it's getting taken to this next level. Now, the country has Jupiter in Pisces as well. So it's got a Jupiter-Sun conjunction. This, in terms of astrology, is actually incredibly fortunate, very lucky. There's almost kind of a divine aura that results in the Jupiter-Sun conjunction, especially with Pisces, because Pisces is the sign of faith. Pisces is the sign of mysticism. Pisces is the sign of unification. It's the sign of oneness. And guess what? It's the sign of miracles as well. Now, we don't really have any strong Pisces action in the sky right now, but we do have some interesting stuff going on with Jupiter. And there's going to be a Jupiter-Sun trine coming Syria's way. So there's going to be reinforcements for Syria. They will not be alone in their struggle to maintain their independence in the face of what certainly looks like preemptive tyranny. Now, they have Saturn in Aquarius, which is an interesting place for Saturn. And in terms of its conjunction, it's conjunct Mercury. It's not conjunct. It's about 11 degrees off, so it's too wide for a conjunction, and maybe that's good for them. I don't know. But theoretically, with Saturn in Aquarius, and this is, maybe I'm just projecting into this, but I'm thinking that ultimately the world will turn in favor of Syria with Saturn in Aquarius. You know, they will see through what happens to Syria, and there will be some kind of response on a global level that will shift the tide, that will actually make Syria look much better than the picture that's being painted of it right now. So when we go down the line here, you know, Syria is dealing with the exception of, which looks like a Leo moon and Mars and Leo. This is a very transpersonal country. This is a country that theoretically given to its own device and left alone, could actually evolve into a very spiritual state. I mean, we talk about Aquarius, we talk about Pisces as being, you know, two of the higher octaves in terms of the expression of astrology. I mean, there's sub-octaves within those higher octaves, right? I mean, you get the sort of the more cliched and tried and banal definitions of those two signs. But these are aspects that point towards, like I said, a fairly enlightened expression of governance inside of a border and a framework for living, working, dying, raising a family, and all that stuff. The aspirations are high. Now, I'm not surprised that there would be a monarchy But I don't understand what the problem with monarchies are. It's like they're okay in places like England or Holland or Denmark, but they're not okay in a place like Syria. I don't understand that. Their monarchies are bad. In other places, monarchies are good. You see what I'm saying? Look at Saudi Arabia. That's a monarchy. And Saudi Arabia is, if they gave Saudi Arabia the same amount of press that they give Syria, trust me, the lights would go off in people's eyes about what happens in Saudi Arabia. But that's a whole other story. It's got, so we have Saturn in Aquarius. I see, again, with Saturn in Aquarius, the tide will turn for this country. Global opinion will turn towards Syria. There will be more of a sense of brotherhood and esprit de corps as a result of what might happen to them. And trust me, it will not be good. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Russia. We'll talk about why it looks to be a very challenging situation for the Syrian people and for the rest of the world, and here in this country, if Russia and China get involved. Now, Russia will probably be more inclined to get involved. China will probably look on the outside for a while, because I think that is their position. They'll just sit back and play center field, and then they'll figure out what to do. China always plays its own game, even though it may look like it's playing along with the global hegemony. It's always vesting its own interest somewhere, deep in the pocket, deep in the recesses of its leadership and its psyche. It's only playing with everyone else for now. So then we have Uranus in Virgo, 2 degrees. And then we have Neptune in Scorpio at 15 degrees. Saturn will cross its Neptune in a few weeks. I think actually in October, November, which will be a very interesting time for that country. Obviously, Saturn on Neptune means it could be cut off from water. It can be cut off from its own internal sources of water. It can be cut off from water in terms of port access, things like that. And then we have Pluto at 10 degrees, Virgo. And as I speak to you today, the sun is in Virgo at 9 degrees, which means tomorrow Syria will have a Pluto-Sun conjunction. And that could go a lot of different ways. I mean, the Pluto-Sun conjunction could be anything from massive destruction and ultimately some form of resurrection and reconstruction. It could take the form of tenacity, deep tenacity, and a massive response. I would not underestimate this country. They have been planning for this moment. Trust me. They've been planning for this moment. So if you are Syria now and you know that you're about to be attacked, and with destroyers on the way, how could they not be? How could we not assume that this is going to occur? This is serious stuff, folks. So if you're Syria and it's serious, what would you do? Well, I would probably do some kind of a preemptive strike. If I knew that I was going to be taken down, I might do something, but they can't do it too soon because now it looks like they're the aggressor. So they may have to take the first blow. And that's the way it is. But after that, I could easily see Syria doing something very, very intense. And that intensity would be perhaps going after the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. And if that's the case, then all hell breaks loose. We're in World War III. Now, everything lines up in some ways for Syria to somehow come out of this even better than what it was before, especially with the Sun-Pluto conjunction, because that represents some form of regeneration. But it gets tricky. And the tricky part is Chiron. Because this version of Syria is about to go through its Chiron return. They have Chiron in Pisces at 10 degrees. And what does Pisces represent? It represents gas, represents oil. It represents all kinds of stuff. You know, what are the things, what's the one thing now that has theoretically pushed public opinion over the edge for Syria? It's what's happened with these children, the sarin gas, and there's a huge amount of controversy over that because there's a lot of information coming out that looks as though the whole plan was staged, that it was the rebels. It wasn't Assad. It wasn't the Syrians that used the sarin gas. I had a link up on Facebook to a live leak from Syria that had been taken down. So again, you know, things are seeping through to kind of shift and tilt people's awareness and consciousness around this in ways that it's going to make it difficult for the powers that be to completely put the pedal to the metal and do what they want to do with Syria, because people are becoming aware. Getting back to Chiron, right? What is Pisces? What did we just say? Pisces is liquids, right? Water. Anything having to do with liquids. That would include oil, right? That would include gas. That would include methane. That would include even something like, quote unquote, sarin gas. So when we get into Chiron and Pisces, what we see here is Chiron and Pisces is tricky because not everything is as it seems, right? We get shown the illusion of Chiron and Pisces. What's behind the veil? What's behind the veil? What's behind the veil? What's behind the veil? And if we're really persistent and perceptive, we can say, oh, wow, well, that's bullshit. That's a manipulation. That's a false flag. That's whatever it is. That's Chiron and Pisces. And that's happening all around the planet right now. It's happening in our own lives. Each and every one of you has Chiron and Pisces going through your chart. It's trining, it's squaring, it's opposing, semi-sextiling, all that stuff. So what Syria is dealing with internally is part of Pisces, and I've seen this time and time again, is this whole kind of martyr and victim and wicker man complex. And it's important to somehow work through that. It's very, very important. Now, will Syria be able to transform this? I think so. I think it will. But we are at a crisis point, ladies and gentlemen, like no other, because we are about to step into some major doo-doo if this goes down. And I'm going to play some music, and when I'm done playing the music, we'll talk about it on the other side. And we'll talk about Russia's involvement and what it means for you here at home. And then we're going to get into how does your life change? How does your life change? If we go through a crisis in the Middle East, and if we approach the theater of World War III, what does astrology look like in your life? How do your aspects impact you? How do I, as an astrologer, interpret them? Well, you'll find out in 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Here's Michael Hill. Here's Michael Hill. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here we go. I was spending the last 3 minutes just looking at Russia's chart. And there are a couple of different charts for Russia, obviously, since it's gone through a number of iterations. But I'm going to look at the latest one, which was set up at 5:19 GMT. There's another 5:25 GMT is another time, which is when the flag went up. But let's just assume it's 5:19 GMT. And for Moscow, this is December 25th, 1991. So Russia, or the Russia as we know it today, became a country at that point in time. On Christmas Day, it's kind of interesting, don't you think, in terms of its chronological genesis. So while the United States is a Cancer country based on the Sibley chart that I use in the July 4th date, Russia is a Capricorn country. Now, the only planet that really comes into play is probably Neptune and to some extent Uranus, both in the sign of Capricorn and both conjunct. They would oppose the U.S. Sun. But Russia has a stellium of planets in Capricorn. Sun, the true node, Uranus, and Neptune. So this makes for a great kind of a duality play, doesn't it, with U.S. Cancer, Russia, Capricorn. Russia also has Saturn in Aquarius. Where did we hear Saturn in Aquarius? Ah, yes. Syria has Saturn in Aquarius. So they have a mutual Saturn. And Russia's Saturn is in its 6th house. It's kind of alone, actually, just kind of hanging out there. Russia has a very unique and clean chart. You can go to astrologyweekly.com/countries/Russia.php, and you can see what I'm talking about. It is mostly made up of, looks like sextiles here, and a few squares, and lots of conjunctions. The moon is in the 1st house. It's in Leo. Oh, by the way, actually it's in Virgo, my bad, 2 degrees Virgo. And Jupiter is in the 2nd house in Virgo as well. It's interesting because, we look at these decisions that have come out of Russia recently as it relates to homosexuality, homosexual propaganda, especially in the schools, especially with kids, kicking out Pussy Galore, or is that their name? That's not Pussy Galore, Pussy Riot. The reason why is because Russia is a fairly moral country with the moon in Virgo and Jupiter in Virgo. Virgo is a very modest sign. And when we talk about Virgo, we talk about purity, we talk about, morality, we talk about scruples. Virgo is in some ways kind of impeccable. If you go through the zodiac and you look at like Virgoan characters or people that are born under the sign of Virgo, with the exception of Lyndon Baines Johnson, you don't find a lot of duplicitous characters. And I'm sure there are with every sign. But I think by and large, you'll find that most Virgos are fairly straight shooters. But you kind of see who they are. You get what you get with Virgos. Classic Virgo is Van Morrison, who is constantly soul searching, constantly unturning the earth to try to find out what's at the next level, what's at the next level, what's at the next level. It's a classic Virgo. So there is also a very royal bearing with the Russian chart at looks like what is it? 6 degrees, or 21, yeah, 6 degrees Leo. So it's a very strong Leo country. So that would put the Syrian moon in its 12th house, in Russia's 12th house. But it would put Syria's Mars right on Russia's ascendant. Right there. So, again, we see this astrological connection between the two countries. That in some ways, Syria's Mars would get Russia to act upon its ascendant. Going deeper into the chart for Russia, by the way, the moon is in the first house, just at the end of the first house. Again, it gives Russia kind of a very moral, sort of, projection to the world. It's got Jupiter in the second house. So this new version of Russia is going to be extremely wealthy, will have all the resources it ever needs or wants. One of the things that it did straight out of the gate is, some of you people are familiar with Khodorkovsky, the Russian oligarch who set himself up to be an oil baron by literally stealing Yukos. Well, Mr. Putin came in right away and nixed that and put Mr. Khodorkovsky in jail where he still sits. In some ways, that's kind of we can see that certainly in the fifth house with oil and with Neptune and the true node. And the fifth house is ruled by Leo, right? So that's taking a very strong stand very early, very quick. But also with Jupiter and Virgo, it's like we are going to, and this is where things are going to get very interesting for Russia, because I think, and who knows, at a high level, right? This could all just be theater. Really, it could all just be, holographic theater. And all we're doing right now is we're waving our hands and shouting our voices and, speculating. All holographic theater. And it could be really staged kind of geopolitical global theater. Maybe Putin and, Obama are tooting lines off of, booties when we're not looking, somewhere at some resort in, I don't know, Negril Beach, Jamaica. Who knows? Because for a long time, like during the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and even into the 70s, we were given this theater of the Cold War, and that's all it was. It was nothing more than theater. It was one side playing one role, one side playing the other role. If Russia was so goddamn bad, then why did we sell them all those parts so they could then send the parts to places like Korea or China or Vietnam, and then we would have to literally fight ourselves? Why, if we really wanted to crush Russia, why didn't we just stop selling them wheat during the 50s and the 60s when they really couldn't produce enough wheat for their own country? We could have starved the Russians out. The Cold War could have been won in about 2 growing seasons. Why didn't that happen? So there seems to be some kind of complicit dance that was going on. Maybe somebody forgot to tell that to Kennedy, but this is what came out of the post-war reflection of the United States' relationship with Russia, that it was really just a scam. And it was a scam done at a high level due to the wants and needs of the military-industrial complexes on both sides of the ocean. Now, there's also another little wrinkle to this, because there are people who are very adamant about the secret space program, which I am, by the way, that believe that the Russians and the United States have been collaborating for years on the secret space program. Years. Since the 60s. And so they've got this whole other relationship that's been going on for a very, very long time. So I ask you, based on all of that, how can Russia right now be the bad guy, the guys in the black hats? Because what they're doing is through this kind of racial purity or sexual purity, not necessarily racial purity, but sexual purity, right? They are defining Russia as the new Germany. They're defining them as the new Nazis. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with sex and sex preference. Putin is the new Hitler. You see where this is going? So, is that really the case? I'm not entirely sure if that's, if that is. But what I do know is that we're going to find out here pretty quickly with what's happening with Syria. So they've got Uranus and Venus conjunct off by 1 degree in the sign of Scorpio, which means that they can flip allegiances very quickly. And both those planets are in the 4th house for Russia. So again, if we look at this whole notion of same-sex relations, right, that's a very Venus, Scorpio, Uranus, Scorpio aspect. And it can be extreme. It can be extreme at either end of the spectrum. What will be interesting is when we get into December and then January, because there's going to be Winter Olympics in 2014 in Russia. And that's when Saturn is going to be going across their Uranus and Saturn's going to be going across their Venus. So obviously we'll see some political blowback and political ramifications of how they have been handling their stance around sexuality. In a weird way, it's a country that's based on freedom and truth, believe it or not. Mercury in Sagittarius, 11 degrees. Mars in Sagittarius, 19 degrees. Sagittarius is about truth. It's about sovereignty. It's about time I stopped. Pardon me. You know what happens? My phone dies, and then I think it's off, and it's not, which is unfortunate. Back into my rant here. So anyway, this Mars in Sagittarius does not dig injustice, or Sagittarius in general does not dig injustice. Period. End of story. So we're going to see how that plays out. And then we've got all these planets lined up in Capricorn. And where's Pluto right now? Pluto is conjuncting the true node of Russia. So we're going to find out a lot about Russia over the course of the next few months. We're going to find out about who this country is, really. I think the cards are going to be on the table. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play one more song, and when I come back, I'm going to get into readings, and we're going to get into some of the aspects around what your life might be like if we do approach something along the lines of, World War III. So let me find a little music here. This is about a man called Clay. Let's do this. We haven't heard of, you know what? I want to hear some Ari Oakland. Here's Ari Oakland. This is Wasteland by Ari Oakland. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I apologize for the delay, but we're going to get this back on the road here and do some readings. Here we go. Wasteland, Ari Oakland.
The smoke-filled horizon begins to fade. Along gutters littered with the residue of the lives washed away. I hear the subterranean moans of living dead whose ghosts walk on barren streets. Like the wealthy Jews, they bend their head and hang towards lost souls chained by despair. With some swing chariot at their back, they're driven to their labor's care. And as I'm sifting through the ruins of my past and the pain that can't be forgotten, the despair, the busy at work, planting other corpses, desolation's garden, and I'm descending deeper in the dark. And I have wandered through the wasteland, and I've seen all those precious lives torn down. And I was going down in my pride, and forced to face the cold, bitter night. Yeah! As the darkness closes in, I know the pale rider is coming for my soul. And struggling through the death that surrounds, I climb a white ladder onto the scaffold. And watching the empty work of the hollow ghost, I shout, it's not my time. With glimmers of the river in the valley below, I'm leaving the wasteland behind. And the despair turn my way. And I have wandered through the wasteland, and I've seen all those precious lives torn down. And I was going down in my pride, and forced to face the cold, bitter night. Yeah!
All right, that was Ari Oakland, Wasteland. Thank you for listening to that wonderful piece of music while I took care of some business on the home front. Let's get into some calls. Hi there, you're on the air.
Hi, Robert. This is Chuck from Vegas.
Hey, what's going on, Chuck?
Not a lot. Just a new job search and what might be on the horizon.
Okay. Well, let's find out what we can find out for you. Let me go into the old program here and see what's where are you calling from, Chuck?
Las Vegas?
Oh, it's my buddy. Is this my buddy Chuck Helmick?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, what's going on? This is a good dude. For any single women in Las Vegas, you got to look this guy up.
The weather's finally cooling off a little bit. Starting to get nice now.
So, okay, so are you in between gigs? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. World Series of Poker ended, and now looking to get into a casino dealing.
Right. Well, certainly the World Series of Poker would be a nice little medallion on your resume there. How was that for you?
Oh, that was fantastic. really great experience. I
All right, Chuck.
really enjoyed it.
When's your birthday, Chuck? Aren't you a Scorpio?
Aquarius, 124.
124. Okay, right. You have Moon in Scorpio, though. When's your birth? What year?
57.
Okay. And give me the time.
8 a.m.
Okay. And where was that? Was that in Ohio?
West Virginia.
Okay. What's the city?
Parsons.
Parsons.
P-A-R-S-O-N.
Yes, indeed. There it is. Okay, here we go. Looking into this for Mr. Chuck. Alrighty. So we're looking at work. Usually when we look at work, we look at the 6th house and we look at the 10th house. So for you, this is kind of an interesting cycle for Saturn for you, Chuck, because Saturn has just really crossed over into your 9th house. And you have both the true node and the moon conjunct in the 9th house, and then your true node is right there on the midheaven in your chart. So anytime you get the true node conjuncting the midheaven, or the north node conjuncting the midheaven, it generally represents a life of destiny. Like you're here to impact people in a kind of a profound way, whatever flavor is associated with that the true node. So for you, it's Scorpio. And one of the things that I think you may be moving into is you've just recently gone through a series of courses in terms of how to learn how to deal and do all this stuff in Vegas, right?
Correct.
Okay. One of the things that you may want to look at is becoming certified to be able to teach these things, because you would get steady pay, obviously, but also you would get kind of an inside look and an inside wrinkle at the casino game. And, Saturn in the 9th house, especially in Scorpio, has a lot to do with learning. Now, higher learning, obviously, would be, in some ways, preferable. So, also figuring out how to go deeper into your own psyche, how to tap into your own psychic awareness. These are all aspects that you can explore with a Saturn 9th house transit in Scorpio, okay? But ultimately, you're here with that Saturn transit in Scorpio through the 9th house to teach, to learn how to teach, to share knowledge, because ultimately, that's what you're here to do. You're here to bring some kind of insight, some kind of depth, some kind of real penetrating understanding about a certain field that you need to bring to the world and share with other people. Now, this is all lining up for you for 2014, 2015, which goes into your Saturn return. Whenever you have Saturn moving across the midheaven and going into the 10th house, it does represent a peak. So you have some really interesting territory and open ground that you're moving towards right now. So, the axiom that I would use for you is, up, onward, and upward, because that's really where it's headed. But I would look to learn something to teach to other people right now. Now, you're also going to get a really nice boost from Jupiter, which is coming through your 6th house, which is the house of work and service and care and dharma and purpose, right? You've got Jupiter moving through there in Cancer in your 6th house. So hospitality is another aspect that you can look into. And obviously you're in the land of hospitality with the casinos and the hotels. So there may be another component to what you're doing there, or could be doing, that may be slightly outside of gambling if you want to move in a different direction. Maybe you want to get into hotel management. Maybe you want to get into restaurant management. That would be another aspect to look into with Jupiter moving through your 6th house. So I would say, just in terms of how all this gets played out with timing, Jupiter is going to get up to, I think, 20 degrees by the end of the year, which will put it in a nice, really tight trine with your moon with an orb of 3 degrees. So I would say you'll accrue a lot more momentum as the fall moves on. And by November, December, you'll have some very clear signs as to where you want to take this. But for now, I would focus on either other aspects of the hospitality industry outside of dealing, or I would look to find a way in which to become certified and then teach other people. That's where I'd go.
Gotcha. Sounds interesting.
So does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
All right. In terms of, I just want to just bring this to your attention. You're going to have Mars coming across Uranus here just in a couple days. By Monday, Tuesday of next week, Mars is going to conjunct your natal Uranus, which is part of a big square in your chart. This is a fixed square. Well, actually, some of it is fixed, and some of it is actually cardinal. The cardinal part is Mars and Aries, but it's part of a big square, a massive square. It's not a T-square. It's a serious square. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen your chart. So when Mars crosses your Uranus, it's going to trigger all those other aspects, all those other points on your chart. One of the things, because Mars is in your 6th house, one of the things that you will want to do as a result of this is you will want to come up with a more long-term plan, because Mars will be trining your natal Saturn. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, you're going to see something, actually the next 10 days, you're going to see something that will say to you, this is ephemeral. And what I mean by ephemeral, I mean by this is either an occupation or this is an aspect of my occupation which will likely go away. And I need to find something that's going to have more long-term traction. And you're going to have an opportunity for that. And that's going to happen in the next 10 days. And that could be anything from, seeing a major downturn in Vegas, or maybe you'll see something along the lines of, more computerization and more technology coming into the gaming industry, maybe perhaps edging out dealers or, changing that in a certain way. But clearly, there is a major shakeup coming in about 10 days for you. But don't worry about it, okay? It's actually going to project you out into something that's got more longevity. Now, Mars is going to start to go through your 7th house. And the 7th house is the house of relationships. So you're going to have some real interesting energy, some juice, some passion, some mojo coming into your house of relationships. So keep that in mind. You'll actually be, in some ways, I wouldn't want to say that you're going to be more attractive to people with Mars in the 7th house, but people will notice your originality. People will notice your essence. People will notice your energy more with Mars transiting your 7th house, which will make you, I would say, more favorable and more attractive to some extent. It may not be on the surface, but certainly on an essence level, you'll be projecting a lot more confidence and a lot more sort of personal sovereignty. And when that happens, then people come into your life and they want to get to know you and see who you are and all that stuff. So just hang in there for the next 10 days. If you get a life shock, especially as it might relate to either how you present yourself or how you've been doing business, don't worry about it. And by the way, I wouldn't bet on any of the games in the opening weekend with that Mars going across your Uranus.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I would wait at least 2 weeks before you start to taking the casino's money again with the football bets.
All right, Robert. I appreciate it, buddy.
Okay. Hey, thanks for calling in. You take care, all right?
I sure will.
All right, see
Thanks.
ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that's Chuck Hellwing. Good guy. Absolutely good guy. Old school, cool dude. All right, let's talk to our good friend all the way from the UK. It's the wild, the wicked, the witchy Dakota Wayshower.
Hello.
Hey, how are
Can
you?
you hear me?
I can, loud and clear. What's going on there?
Everything's fine over here. It is. How's it by you?
It's great. You know, we have real clouds in the sky today. They look like giant puffs of cotton. Everything you'd think about a southwestern sky to look like, it's showing up that way. And I picked my Little League team last night. I've got 11 kids on my Little League team, and I just signed a deal with a guy on TV. Everything's great. Now the world's going to go to hell. We're going to have World War III. Other than that, things are great. Just when I'm about to really hit my stride, man.
Yeah, no, I fully understand. Over here, it's absolutely beautiful, the weather. I do understand what you're saying about the UK and the US at the moment, to do with Syria, but something's telling me that something's not right. Does that make sense?
Well, what do you mean not right?
Just something's not right with what's occurred with the whole situation.
Of course it's not right. Of course it's not right.
I'm not talking about what's happened. I mean, what's happened is not good, okay? What I'm actually saying behind it, there's something not right. The truth has not come out yet, but it will.
I think so, and I think it's trying to. It's struggling to. There are people that are more connected and turned on than ever before, and you know, every time they trot out these scenarios where it looks like some evil bastard has done something terrible to his people or their children. Now people are looking at it with much more of a sense of circumspection and with a much more jaundiced view, and I think people are hip. They're hip to the trip. And this, in some ways, is really, really good. And in other ways, it's also not so good, because what happens when you get a populace that can't be fleeced and snowed anymore? Well, then now they become a threat as well. So, you know, there has to be some kind of, you know, overarching hegemony when it comes to these things that everybody has to obey. And I think that's really not happening as much as it used to. People are waking up. They're coming to their senses. Yes,
I absolutely totally agree with you on that one. I feel that there's going to be much more revelations coming in quite soon, actually, much sooner than, in a sense, what we realise, but not as all as what they're portraying. Okay, but it's going to come to light. It is, and
well, it's a matter of timing, right? Like when, you know, because they're talking.
I feel it's going to be a lot sooner. I do feel it's going to be a lot quicker, because like when it came over on sort of like the news over here, and I was looking at it, and I was just picking up things, and what I picked up, and I thought, right, okay, this is going to manifest quite quickly. It is, but the truth, what they were from the TV, I just what was being told, it wasn't so. What they were saying. And behind it, something behind it, and it's going to be revealed quite quickly. So all we've got to do is just observe. It is, and do, you know, basically do say our prayers.
Yeah, I would say for
loads
sure.
of protection, loads of meditation, absolutely loads of meditation for everybody to do, and just focus, basically, and that will help the whole situation much more than a lot of people will realise, but it'll help.
Yeah, I mean, and I also think that talking about it and discussing it and bringing to light is, you know, bringing truth to power. You know, I mean, this is what we're doing, and I think that is actually very. You know, people say, well, you know, what can you do? You know, you're a keyboard. You know, a keyboard protester, or you're a keyboard patriot, or whatever they're called. But we don't have many options. We really don't. I mean, we can protest, but here in the United States, they've made so many laws now about protesting and, creating protest-free zones and, all kinds of stuff like that, where it's getting much harder to protest. And, protests really don't do a whole lot anyway, and then there's the option of, force. There are people in this country that say, hey, we're going to have to use force. We're going to have to, take them down. That's stupid. Because
No, can't do that.
Well, because the people in this country are completely they're outgunned. They're outgunned, they're outarmed. I mean, there's a lot of guns here in the United States, and a lot of people that know how to use them. But in terms of just sheer military might and power and sophistication and technology and going through all these scenarios, there's no way the populace here can really stand up, at least initially. Maybe if it was a prolonged kind of guerrilla war, perhaps. So
in a physical sense, yes, I understand.
That's ruled out as an option. So what's left is we have these discussions and we uncover the truth. I guess in your world you meditate, you pray. In my world, we talk about this, and then we have other people talk about it and other people talk about it, because I don't think it's just empty verbiage. I think it's really important because, we accumulate mass, we accumulate psychic mass when we do things like this. So I think that's where we are right now. And we were in such a state of shock after 9/11 when it happened that most people didn't want to talk about it. Or if they did want to talk about it, a lot of people didn't want to listen. But we're in a different place now, and I think that people are much more amenable to different kinds of ideas. And those ideas need to compete in the marketplace of truth. That's what I think.
I absolutely totally agree with you, and I totally agree on the aspect. I mean, I don't know how the laws are over in America at the moment, okay, but I can only assume, to be totally honest with you, and what I'm sensing, it's more to hold everybody back. It is in the physical sense. But what I would actually highly suggest to everybody, and this is the truth of it all, is meditation, working with your energy and focusing and really blasting the energies forward in love and light. And it does work. It really does work. Mm-hmm. It does. And that's the state that it's coming to right now. It is because all light workers, avatars, way showers, really, this is what we're here to do. And majority of what's going on here, it is in a sense sort of like energy that's to bring people, to dim people, to bring them down, to close them down, to make them sort of like, in a sense, be like a robot. And that is the truth.
Absolutely.
But you see, at the end of the day, there's so many, when you're really starting to connect with your energies and you're doing your meditation, it doesn't cost anything. You sit there for 15, 20 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you feel you're comfortable with, and how you feel after the effects. You can't go out and buy it. You can't. You just sit there, you do it, you feel it, and you emanate it and you manifest it. And how you manifest it is basically by focusing and just channeling from your third eye your energy and just blasting it out. And that is what's going to move many mountains. And this may be, with due respect, with everything that's happened, it's not nice, and that is the truth of it, but the light is coming in. It's coming in, it's blasting in, it's walking in, and with due respect, it's kicking quite a few people, up the tootsie, as you would say.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that there are lots of forms of meditation as well. I mean, there are some people that, like if you were to talk to somebody in Iowa, who has no, real clue about what you're talking about, but they go out in their garden and they put plants in the ground and, and they love their ground. And it's another form of meditation. It's allowing them to still their mind and get in touch with what's important for them. So just to be clear, I know a lot of people listen to the show can totally relate to what Dakota is sharing, but there are other people who might have their own way of doing it and their own way of getting in touch with it. I actually think what we need is more sex, and not bad sex. We need good sex. We need good, loving sex. Because if people were having good, loving sex, right, we wouldn't really be having all these troubles in the world. People would be happy,
I will say this to you. I have heard something very, very, very familiar to what you just said. I did hear something, and I thought, oh yes, okay, I understand that one.
Hey, I mean, the maxim is make love, not war, right? So.
Well, yes, it is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And when energies, basically encase into each other, you do magnify. And there's that film as well. Oh my days, what was it called? The Cocoon. Was it Cocoon?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in that film, The Cocoon, well, really, that's what it's about.
Well, yeah, especially when one of the actresses is Raquel Welch's daughter. That's exactly what it's about. No, I'm just kidding. So maybe we should have. You remember how Yoko Ono and John Lennon had the bed in? Do you remember that at all?
Yes.
It's actually it was in Toronto, and that was part of their whole kind of passive peace activism phase. And there's a film with Lennon or about Lennon that focuses on his time in Canada. And it's really worth watching because it has more footage of him, in that hotel room than almost any other film. And it's fascinating to watch John and Yoko sort of hold court. They were holding court in this bed for 7 days or something like that, maybe a little bit longer. And Al Capp, who is an illustrator from America, he wrote the comic Little Abner. He shows up there to talk to John Lennon. It's one of the most fascinating exchanges I've ever seen. I mean, I highly recommend. You probably find it on YouTube.
I'll have a look. Yes.
Al Capp asked John Lennon some of the most pointed questions that a guy like Lennon would have to respect in some ways. So maybe we could just have a smaller version of that, 24 hours, the Make Love Not War In protest against war in Syria, right? There you go. Do your best.
Mm-hmm.
Do your best for 24 hours, planetary orgasm. What do you think?
Actually, yes, when you think about it, because it's the energy, isn't it? So yes,
absolutely,
it would absolutely manifest, and it would absolutely do so much good. It'd be amazing, and maybe that's what we in a sense on the earth plane, it'll wake up a lot more people, but also it'll also sort out what needs to be sorted out, if that makes any sense. It'll stop what needs to be sorted, because it's more about, what's happening over there. I mean, not just over there, but over the world. It is deceit, and the deceit is falling. It's been revealed. It is, and we're here to basically work with our energies and just divine love, work in divine love full stop, and just spread the love and, emanate our energies. And and just work with them, and just where it absolutely touches, everybody, in a sense where they wake up because they've been closed down. And that's all it is. People have been closed down, and all this deceit and whatever that's going on. And I don't really want to put too much energy into it, because, right now, we're here, the light workers, where shows everybody, are here doing what we need to do to basically hold the space. We do.
So do you have a radio show today, Dakota?
Sorry?
Do you have a show later today?
Yeah, it's coming on at 9:30. 9:30.
Okay, 9:30. So if you guys want to hear more about Dakota and her work and, what she's doing, you can tune in 9:30. That's 9:30 English time. And you can do the math in terms of your own time zone. And she's got a very popular show. A lot of people listen. A lot of people call in, and highly recommended. So if you want more of a taste of Dakota, go check her out. Okay.
Oh, bless you, my love. Bless you.
All right. Well, listen.
That's the reason that I rang in anyway, just to have my little say what's going on.
Well, keep up the good work, and don't be a stranger. Come on by and hang out again sometime.
Yeah, I will do, and bless you.
Okay. Take care.
And you. Bye.
Bye-bye. That was Nakota the Wayshower, all the way from the UK. So yeah, I think my global sex for peace initiative might gain some traction. What do you think? Global sex for peace. Do the dirty Sanchez, not dirty uranium. Do the dirty Sanchez, not dirty nukes. Why not? What else do we have to lose? I mean, you may as well take in the simple pleasures while you can, right? That's what I'm talking about. All right, it is 1:20 here in Austin, Texas. The number is 347-308-8995. 347-308-8995. Call in if you'd like. I would be happy to talk with you. Be happy to look at your chart. And I'd be happy to answer your questions about your sex life. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why I'm thinking about sex today. Anyway, 347-308-8995. Now, you're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I am Robert Phoenix. We can shift the topic slightly if we want to. I may as well and see if I can prop things up here. Here's a caller coming in. Here we go.
You did.
Hello there. Hello. They dropped. Let's go to the 667 number. Hello there.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Robert.
Is this Gardner?
No, this is Janelle.
Oh, hey, Janelle. What's going on, Janelle?
Not much. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Just sitting here, counting down to the end of the world and never feeling better about my life. I'm feeling great. So everything is converging perfectly on some level, right? It's got to be. So how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I thought maybe this is my first time to call in, but I thought maybe I'd call in and see if this is a good time for me to make a trip to Arizona.
Okay. By the way, Janelle, I saw a very interesting video with DMX. Do you know who DMX is?
No.
DMX is a rapper. And by the way, I highly recommend anybody who is interested in kind of what goes on behind the scenes in music to find this video. So DMX he was a massive hip hop star back in the mid-90s, and he started to do movies with Steven Seagal. I mean, he was going to be hip hop's next big crossover, and he decided to move to Arizona because he loved it there so much, and that's where he wound up going to jail. And
I do know about that. He found Jesus there.
That's right. It's a very interesting video, and he's very lucid and he's very clear about what took place to him in Arizona. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was interesting based on
I think I have seen that video. He found the devil there too.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
So yeah. All right. So your chart. So when we look at travel, like we look at the ninth house, and while Arizona is not across the country from you, it still is kind of a haul. I would say it would actually not be a bad time because you've got the Sun conjunction coming, right? And so the Sun will be transiting your ninth house. Anytime you get the Sun transiting your ninth house, it's a good time to travel for sure. So I would say thumbs up, yes, all the way.
Okay, and how long do I have for that conjunction?
Hold on a second. I don't. You know what? I've got a different. This is a different chart. You know what I did? I need to re-rack your chart. My apologies. Give me your birth time again. Your birthday.
June 21st, 1960.
Yeah. Your chart did not look right. My apologies.
Okay.
June 21st, 1960. I caught myself in the end. What time?
1:02 p.m.
1:02 p.m. Okay. And city?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Right. Okay. Yes. There we go. All right. This is okay. So let's look at this now. There's your charts. More like it. Very different slants. Much different. Sun is now getting ready to, let's see, Pluto 3. The Sun has just moved off of your Pluto and is getting ready to go into your 12th house. Now, and Mercury is, not far behind. If you were to go to Arizona in September, it would be a trip that would allow you to find a part of yourself that you had either left behind or you would consider missing. It would help you uncover part of the mystery that I think you're looking for. And the reason for that is that the Sun would be going through your 12th house. But you'd have to stay there. You'd have to stay there until at least like the 14th or 15th of September, or maybe you want to go around that time, because what you want is you want to have the Sun conjunct your true node, which is in the 12th house, which opens up the gate of mystery for you. So I would say yes, but it would also be a time where it would not necessarily be a trip that would be based on fun, relaxation, frivolity. It would be much more kind of shrouded in mystery and going kind of deeper into your own personal history. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say yes, but the expectations for the trip would have to be tempered, and you'd have to really let go. You'd have to surrender in order to uncover the meaning of why you're there. But it would also help you put some pieces together as well. So an interesting trip, no doubt. And I think it could be a really important trip for you, too. So maybe you're following your instincts around this.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So the 9th house for you in this case would be Gemini, and you've got, you don't have any action going on. Well, there's the moon there in Gemini at 5 degrees, which is right there on the cusp of the 9th. So you get the Sun sextile with the moon, which wouldn't be too bad. When were you planning on going?
Well, I was thinking probably after Labor Day weekend.
That'd be a good time.
And probably staying through at least the 22nd or, the 23rd of September.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting time, for sure, because you would definitely have that contact point with the Sun and the true node, and then you'd have the Sun trining Saturn, and Saturn being in your 4th house. It gives you, even more information about your roots, and not only about your roots, but what you want to do with your roots in the future. So I give it a thumbs up.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
All right, Janelle, you take good care, okay?
Okay, you as well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
All right, let's try that 862 caller again. Here we go. Hello there. Hello. Hello. Okay, somebody's shy. Put him back on hold. All right, 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995. That's the number if you'd like to call in, chat.
Hello, cat. For a spot of tea and a chat, perhaps. Hello, how are you today? What would you like to talk about? Ah, yes, your love life. I see nothing but roses. Roses and champagne ahead for you. That's right. Thank you for calling.
Maybe that should be my new persona. What do you think?
The happy Englishman. I'm here to tell you nothing but wonderful things about your future.
It is 1:30 here in Austin, Texas. Maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should be, hey, the moon is in Gemini, right? Maybe I should be different personas for the rest of the show. I could be the southern astrologer. Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't trust that Saturn. That Saturn don't look too good to me. Let me tell you that right now. And when that Saturn comes up on that Pluto of yours, ooh boy, you best watch your ass. Because that Saturn, I'll teach you a lesson. And you know what that Saturn is, right? That's your background. That's your history. Your history will not be a mystery any longer when Saturn comes up on that Pluto. Let me tell you, kick your ass. Other than that, I love what I'm seeing in your chart. It's a beautiful thing. Just get through it. You'll be fine. All right. That's enough of that. Let's see. I am going to end the show. If nobody else is going to call in before I keep going. Real quick, we got the start of the NFL football season coming up. And Roger Goodell is doing everything in his power to ruin football. Why? Because we must disassemble America's pastimes. We must make baseball look like it's tainted with muck, tainted with steroids, with liars, with cheaters. We have to establish it's a cesspool for chemical codependency. Oh my God, the game is ruined. Football, on the other hand, they turn the other way when it comes to steroids. But now you can't tackle with the knees. You can't tackle with the head. Pretty soon, football will be a flag football sport. And they will force people away from the sport due to the attrition because, guess what? It just won't be interesting anymore. Now, if you go to a football stadium, any football stadium near you, and by the way, pay attention to what I'm about to say, you can't bring in your food, you can't bring in your bottles, we couldn't bring those in anyway, but cans, thermoses, can't do that anymore. Can't do it. You got to go through body scanners, you got to have see-through bags. They're going to make it as miserable for you as they possibly can to go watch the sport. And guess what? Most people just go right on through. Cavity search, no problem. Let me pull my pants down. Let me spread my cheeks. I feel so much safer, by the way, when I do this. Go ahead. Just I don't have the anus bomb, but you can go ahead and shine a light right up there. Go ahead, because I feel safe when I do this. When I let you do this. Let's take a call. Hello there. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, Robert, it's Roy.
Hey, my man, Roy. What's going on?
How's it going?
Just peachy. How are you?
Yeah, it sounds like it's peachy. I don't know what's going on, man. It's like it's the end, huh? The fear is coming.
Well, it's certainly they're certainly flirting with our anxiety and dread, aren't they?
Yeah, you can't bring anything to a baseball game. I mean, it really sucks now.
Well, it's football. Baseball, you could still do you can bring your food and stuff in, but that'll probably change. But for the National Football League, I think has done a deal with DHS, so they've got no, seriously, or TSA or somebody. So now it's like it's like a really big deal to go see a football game live and in person.
Oh my God,
That's
crazy. Yeah. That is crazy.
Well, it accomplishes a couple of things, right? I mean, it allows DHS or TSA or whomever to make more money because they get paid for doing that, right?
Yeah.
Pay for it. Us,
We pay for that. And it creates more of a sense of fear and more of a sense of, anxiety and who knows what else. It's conditioning, all that stuff. So that's what's going on. And
mainly for football fans.
Yeah, for football, because American football has become America's sport. And I think that there is, and has been for a while now, plan to completely disassemble this whole idea and notion of America. We've been talking. I was talking with Daria, who's a listener caller, and we were talking one day about how everything's flipped, how the United States is more like Russia, and Russia is more like the United States now. You can just, check everything off the board, right? Check. And as a result, all these things that we associate with the United States, for better or worse, they're being sort of disassembled. And football is really high on the list. Because what's also taking place is there's a major push for soccer to be accepted in this country. And I know it sounds really trite, but they need these pastimes to keep people distracted. And so soccer now is being imported and really being pumped up on the sports stations like ESPN and NBC. The other night I was with my son, and we were having dinner in a Mexican restaurant, and up on the monitors in the Mexican restaurant with a TV, they were showing a documentary about the Liverpool soccer team. Okay, well, this is really interesting. It's like, here we are in the heart of Texas, and we're watching something about Liverpool. So this is, kind of a push or a push that's been going on for a while. But I have to say, even though everything is getting weird and it looks like we're, on the precipice of World War III, I myself have never felt better. I feel great in my life. So
yeah, I've been following, and you got a lot of great things happening. It's fantastic. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I don't think I'm alone, Roy. I mean, I think that there are two separate realities going on here on the planet, and they're not lining up. Like,
Go ahead.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, it's like I should feel angry or I should feel anxious, but I don't. I actually feel really good, and I'm also aware of what's going on. So something's not matching here. There's some other kind of vibration that that's moving through us that is not congruent at all with the picture of the dominant paradigm.
Maybe that's just splitting apart. I mean, so many of these woo-woo sites and a lot of things that I've read, they're always talking about that there's going to be a split, like there's going to be like two Earths. The one group that likes all that crap, they can stay here, and the other group that's good, go to the other side. I wonder if something like that's going on. In reality, we're not really physical. I mean, we perceive it to be physical, but I don't know. I see something like this going on, too. I just joined this Facebook after kind of staying away from it really staying away from any of the social media for a really long time, because way back in 95 when CompuServe came out, Rosemary, my wife, signed up for it. It was like the new thing. You get on CompuServe and you could talk to people and see stuff, and this was like just before the internet. And I went on one site once, and it was Rosemary's account. And this guy started hitting on me, and I said, whoa. I said, this is not right, And after that, I never went on to any of these social things. It was like, I want to see who I'm talking to. It was very strange.
Right.
Now I see with this Facebook, I mean, most of the people out there, they have the same mind as you or I. They see it as it is. Maybe not, complete, but it's kind of steering in that direction, it seems.
I think so. I think so, and I've had a conflict with Facebook internally for a while. In fact, I left Facebook for a couple months and really didn't go there. And I came back, and it's turned out to be, I would say, a positive experience for me, even though I'm sure there's huge amounts of data mining and profiling that go on with, my page and everybody that follows my page or whatever. It's all out there anyway. I don't care or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really positive coalescence. Let me just tell people who I'm speaking with. This is my friend Roy, and Roy is an accomplished artist, and a fine artist. And I've actually put some of Roy's recent works on my website. Some of you might have seen Hermes Trismegistus 2 on my website as part of a recent post. And so Roy's actually going through a bit of a renaissance with his art. How's that going for you, man?
Yeah, I want to thank you a lot, because you really steered me in this way, and I still don't know the reason for it, and I don't expect to be selling or anything like that, but I think it's just the process, maybe more for me personally, and I figure I put it out and see what happens, and that's pretty much it. It's still like a...
Are you using your Facebook page as a gallery? You're putting some of your photos up there, or your works up there?
I'm in the process of figuring out what kind of a website I want to put together, but I posted it up there, and mainly now with the Facebook, I put myself out there, and now the old gang from when I was kids are contacting, and
so it's cool.
It's going back, it's bringing me back too, and so I guess that's all part of it,
Yeah.
because at one point in my life I was just pretty much cut off on that, and there was no from anybody, and now people are coming back in, and we're just. What's interesting is it's like when you're speaking to somebody all your life. The last time I saw some of these people were like when I was 16, 17 or so. So it's really interesting.
It's like time traveling, isn't it?
That's what. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah.
It's a trip.
Really is.
It's a trip. Well, I'm looking forward to whatever website you cook up so people can see more of what you're doing and get a taste of the depth and the breadth of your vision and your inner eye, because it's really the stuff that you sent to me is quite spectacular. So looking forward to seeing what you cook up there, Roy.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to continue. It's a lot of fun. I miss that creative process. It's all on computer, so it's a lot easier for me. I don't have to clean brushes at the end of the day. And it's very versatile to do it this way, so it's something new for me too. I'm still learning on it, because there's always, with this Photoshop or whatever, it's like it can go on and on forever, These programs are really detailed.
Oh, totally.
But it is a lot of fun, and we'll see.
Well, when you get your website up and running, let's get you on here, and then we'll do a detailed excavation and get into it. How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Well, listen. Say hi to Rosemary for me, and I'll see you guys around. Okay.
Okay. So long, Robert.
Bye, Roy.
So long.
Okay, we got time for one more caller here. Let's go to the 208. Hello there.
Hi, Robert. This is the gardener.
Ah, there you are.
Hi. I was really I've always been turned on by your intro by Philip K. Dick, and it inspired me to do a lot of bio search on him and all his books. I had a friend of mine that was really into him, and I never really have read any of his stuff. And do you know what his middle initial K stands for?
Ketamine?
Kindred.
Kendry.
Kindred.
Kindred.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Yeah, so I got totally turned into and onto Philip K. Dick, which was totally about what your last caller was talking about with the split of the paradigm. And I do believe that is actually happening based on, mine and a lot of other people's experiences. But I wrote about some of it on Less Visible because I kept noticing one day I kept coming across all this new work on schizophrenia. And that's how the ones who've got the power to control everybody are going to be, diagnosing what a lot of people will be experiencing if they haven't already. Miraculous healings, miraculous telepathic, transportational dreams. My brother had a great dream the other night, and he was telling me about it. And this little Aboriginal type person in his dream said his only utterance to my brother was, "You're ancient." And I said, what's going to happen, if we get so, tuned in where, this other stuff just doesn't matter. I think that might be why they're so desperate to be such liars with this, World War III inclusion activities. That nobody wants this,
Right.
Nobody except those kind that are meant to stay here, because they love it, could ever fall for the old using poison gas on their own people trick again.
Yeah, it's an old canard.
While so many of us are feeling better and healthier and without really any reasons for it except our own selves. They have to get more and more extreme to beat us all down and cause as much harm and as much focus on them and their dirty selves as they can. So, there was quite a bit of talk about schizophrenia, and that could be, their explanation for when more and more people start having more and more events where you yourself can't deny, that it is like a divine escalation, intervention, activity. And yes, the love and sex, good sex. Yeah, I mean, they just with everybody being on so many mind meds, such a huge percentage, that is the one thing. My brother's a psych nurse, and he was saying, everything that really helps people heal from any mental health disaster is sex, good food, loving companionship, and those mind meds take it all away.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think that was accidental either. It's hard to feel sexy when you're totally, constipated and impacted and everything.
No, it's
from
true.
all the pain meds and psych meds. So I'm happy. I'm happy for you and happy for us. And somehow, transcend the beatdowns and the liars. And I think the only way we can fight this truly, having fought this for a long time myself, is spiritually. It is truly the only way we can positively have impact, and it is high impact.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take mass percentage to do it either. Calling in the divine, and really making it a huge focus in your life, which could, be a big trigger for break-offs and fragmenting and all that kind of stuff they don't like to see people do. But that's, my little input for the Wednesday. I didn't want you to leave.
Yeah, well, I think that, we've all been working very, very diligently over the last few years to get better either with our health or get better with our health or, with our ability to disseminate information, transform. We've all been kind of in the dojo, for the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, really, and for a lot of people. And now it's time. Now it's time to put it all together. Now it's time for all of us to be able to, be steady. I watched this show. It's called Burn Notice, and it's. I wouldn't say it's a great show. I started on Netflix at the beginning, and there are some undercurrents of mind control in the show.
But the lead character, the whole premise is there's a guy, he's a secret ops guy, he gets burned, which means he has no history, he has no bank account, he's confined to a certain area, and then there are people but he's not protected, so there are people that are trying to get after him, right? So this is what burn notice is, and he goes through the show trying to figure out who burned him and how to kind of get back in the loop. One of the things I like about the show, even though, again, it's just TV, one of the things I like about the show is that no matter how intense things get, he does everything in his power to stay as clear and as calm and as focused as possible to figure out where the outs are in any situation. And I think that that's kind of where we are right now, that we have to stay as clear and calm and as focused as possible.
Honest.
I read Zen Gardner's latest piece today about Syria and World War III and where it's all headed, and he kind of has the same sort of game plan. And it's like, look, there's not much we can do about things. The best thing that we can do is to be clear and calm and focused and aware of what's going on in our lives. And it's what we should be doing anyway. So, it's just now the stakes are much higher. So anyway, that's where I think we are. And it's time to come out of the dojo. It is time to actually be in the mix for wherever this is headed. And don't be afraid.
With this particular timeline of Leo planets and Virgo sextiling the Pluto and Scorpio crowd,
yeah,
I really feel this will be the trigger that causes them to rise or fall. Will they be a bit player, a sacrificial bit player in the anti-life play?
Yeah.
Or will they finally be the ones that say, because, the Pluto and Leo crowd weren't too hot on being sacrificed, for the cause in our generation either. And so here comes another fixed Pluto generation in water.
Right.
And I know plenty of them, plenty of the younger ones, late teens, and they are nobody's fool, and they'll make a hideous draft, for these control freaks.
Well, no,
they will not do it.
Yeah, they're not
unless they want to.
Yeah, they're not military material, and that's why there are thousands of troops from other countries right now inside of our borders. So
right, yeah, it's pretty.
They're all under the auspices of training with like our troops, right? So, yeah, you're right.
A lot of people have been laying low. There's most people in this country, we've been, beaten down pretty seriously and lied to continuously and blamed and worked and we don't have a future. We don't have hope. And it's such a contrast to JFK when he really, gave hope for the future, and tons of people enlisted. Whoops, I think my phone just died.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. It's like the Pluto and Scorpio crowd, I think, is going to, they're going to do something really good. I don't know what it is, or shocking at least.
Well, they'll either save the planet or they'll burn it down, one of the two. So
right.
Maybe it'll be both. Hey, listen, Gardner, we got to go because I gotta wrap this thing up here.
Right. Well, it's good talking to you.
You take good care of yourself and keep on living the dream. All right.
Yeah. Thanks. I do. I'm in prayer 24/7.
Beautiful. All
Got
right.
connected. Thanks.
There's our friend the gardener. That's it. We have managed to craft an entire 2 hours out of today's show. I never know where it's going to go. I never know who's going to call in. I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about until I think about it maybe about an hour before the show.
and somehow it all works out okay. So maybe there's a lesson in here for you and me and the rest of us with life. It is not something you can necessarily rehearse. It is something that is lived. And with that, I urge you to discern, to use your head to discern what's real, and your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix, and you've been listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I want to thank everybody in the chat room for being such a great bunch, keeping the energy high and flowing in there. And I want to just give a shout out to my new team, the Knights. Go Knights! I'll see you guys on Friday. Courtney Brown will be joining us, and we might get an appearance here from Darren Williams talking about his latest article on my site, robertphoenix.com. If you haven't read it, go check it out. It's a good one that deconstructs the summer blockbusters, and Darren takes it in all kinds of different directions. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you guys on Friday. Here's Philip K. Dick.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.